Welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast, a collection of inspiring conversations with the most interesting female entrepreneurs and small business owners. I'm your host, Lindsay White, and together with my incredible guests, we'll explore the struggles of being a female entrepreneur, the most important lessons, and the future of women leaders in business. And I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs become the calm, confident leader their team and their business really need. And that's why I've recently launched my 6 weeks mental fitness bootcamp. This amazing program will help you tackle your inner critic, tame your saboteurs, tap into your sage inner voice, and really increase your positive intelligence. With a combination of daily practice in the custom app, weekly focus to increase your awareness, and regular group coaching sessions led by me, you'll build the mental muscles you need to quickly overcome the changes and challenges you're facing right now. If you're ready to transform your leadership in your life, connect with me today at highvoltageleadership.ca. My guest on this week's episode is the amazing Sandra Easton. And Sandra's not your typical female founder that we have here on the show. She actually has a full-time gig in commercial real estate and is really one of the few women that works in what is a pretty male-dominated industry. Makes her kind of a unicorn, actually. But what's interesting about Sandra and what makes her an incredible female founder is how she's built so many interesting side hustles. Now, this woman really has an entrepreneurial spirit. From her latest best-selling book called Easy Crypto, The Basics, where she helps others understand the complicated world of cryptocurrency, to her custom journals and planner pages, Sandra's really taken what she's passionate about and made it into a money-making venture. Now, Sandra and I actually got to record this session live and in person, and there may or may not have been wine involved. So be warned, our conversation gets a little silly at certain points. Okay, awesome. I am here actually live and in person with my friend Sandra Easton for this week's Female Founder Friday. How the hell are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you, Lindsay?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yes, it's so nice to have you here.
It's so nice to be here and actually have a glass of wine together.
I know.
It's pretty fun.
Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy for your listeners.
We're going to try and keep it civil. We're going to try and keep it under control. But it is nice to actually record one of these podcasts with a real live human. Most of the time I do these over Zoom. So to be with someone like in the flesh is, kind of cool.
It's a novelty.
At this point in the pandemic, it really kind of is actually.
Where's your mask?
Yeah. Where's my mask? Seriously. When can we get rid of those damn things? Anyways, Sandra, I'm so interested to talk to you because you have a really cool story. You have a really cool journey of being a female founder, but in fact, you work in a very male-dominated field in your day job, yes?
Yes. So I work in commercial real estate, which is primarily male-dominated. There's also the interesting thing about my industry with regards to women is there's this huge pay gap still. Right? Yeah.
Makes sense. In a very traditional male-dominated field. That stands to reason, I guess.
Yeah. So I got into commercial real estate on a dare. I don't know if you know that.
I think you told me that before.
I've been in real estate about 15 years. And when I moved to Calgary, I was told that it was still no place for a woman.
Right.
And I said, hold my beer. Watch this. And I've been having a lot of fun ever since. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely. Giving people a choice, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and I know you just like to stir shit up on a daily basis, but I can imagine you give all those old guys a run for their money.
The old guys aren't the problem. It's the younger little shits.
Interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. I like messing with them.
But Sandra, I know that at any given time you have 36 side hustles on the go, which I think is something super cool.
I think it's really important, not just as a human, but especially as a woman, to have anywhere from 4 to 7 income streams, preferably automated. I have written novels. I've published journals. I have an Amazon print-on-demand merch company. I have an Etsy shop that's digital downloads. And I'm just finishing writing a book on dyslexia that'll be out.
Right.
And
I know that's something
Yeah.
near and dear to your heart because your son is dyslexic and struggled.
yeah, well, that's an interesting thing that we can talk all night on. But yeah, like dyslexic people in Canada within the school system are considered disabled.
Mm-hmm.
And when we had moved to the States, it was an eye-opener because in the States, they see it as just a learning difference. So like a left-handed person,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't say they're disabled. You'd say
Yeah.
they're left-handed.
Yeah.
Right? But we make the distinction in Canada. So I thought it was a really important project to educate people on how gifted and special dyslexics are and to advocate and stand up for some rights for the students here in Canada for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a tell-all.
Yeah, I love that though, but I know it's a real personal, it's a
Yeah.
personal story, it's a personal journey.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a page turner.
It's a page turner. It's like it's a mom's story. And I love that because we're both moms.
Yeah.
And we bond because we both have older adult children and use the term loosely in certain circumstances. But I think that those are really compelling reads because as moms, we can all identify.
Mhm.
I mean, every kid has their own special need in that sense, right?
Yes.
Some are just more distinguishable than others.
Sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I know that you are also like super into crypto.
I love crypto. I think crypto is like the future. I wouldn't go down the rabbit hole unless you're the red pill and the blue pill.
Right.
But it's eye-opening. It absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind it is the future. And people are surprised how integrated it already is in our banking and governments.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
Well, and you post all sorts of stuff on your social that I'm not even sure I completely understand. I'm just so damn proud of you for like jumping into it. And I mean, you're just so freaking smart that I know you've just figured it out.
Well, the thing is, Lindsay, like you could get like 1% in your savings account, or you can put that same money in crypto safely and securely and get 15%.
Yeah.
In a wallet,
right,
staked, which gets interest. So like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But I think to your point, it's about doing it safely and securely and being smart about it.
Yeah.
Because I see people, they sort of buy into the hype, but they don't actually know what they're buying into.
Exactly.
Whereas this super smart chick, she's done all the research. She reads all the stuff. She's on all the platforms. She knows what her shit is. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, regulation's coming to help the masses, but if you can get in now, it's very lucrative and profitable.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is what she's talking about, right? Like having these different income streams. And I mean, yeah, I think we could probably go on all night, but I really love that you, first of all, you're so creative. Like, I think that's one of the coolest things is that you've cut all of this stuff is created by you. You have generated all of these amazing ideas.
I think you know me well enough to know that I don't like having expectations put on me or limitations.
Yeah.
I'll decide.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite sayings. I'll decide.
Yeah.
You don't get to decide for me who I am and what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out.
Yeah.
And I also hear no as maybe.
Or perhaps as a direct challenge, in fact.
And I hear maybe as an absolute yes. So I do like negotiation for that. But yeah, like no is a maybe and maybe is yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's why if you're in the Calgary area and you're looking for commercial real estate, you need Sandra Easton's help. Yeah. Because maybe is a yes and she's going to make it happen. I love that. But no, I mean, that's why I wanted you to be a guest on the show, is because I think it is really cool how you have taken really ideas that are amazing and you've translated them into businesses that are profitable, but that you also have a lot of fun. You get a lot of joy from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And teaching other women, I think, to be independent is also really important.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, so tell me, where have you fucked it up along the way? What does that look like?
I don't really, I mean, I don't really like that. I don't really have failure, regret, or I don't think that way. I think I've had a lot of lessons. I have no problem with quote unquote failure because I think I don't expect perfection. I've never expected perfection.
Yeah.
And so like my life is a journey, and like if I don't expect perfection from myself, it just lowers that pressure of, you know, screwing up or maybe making an incorrect path for a little bit until you can self-correct.
Yeah.
But I think that being able to self-reflect is probably the biggest thing. If there is a flaw that has gotten me in trouble, it would be I'm a bit unapologetic.
A bit.
And I have learned to know my audience.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, and just be open with apologizing. I think, you know, generally people are well-intentioned, but there is miscommunication, especially when you're assertive and ambitious, and it can come across as ruthless. And so to be able to communicate like what the real intentions are and apologize if something comes across.
Right.
I think that's huge in progressing yourself forward and progressing other people.
You know what? I identify with that because I mean, that's part of why we get along so well is I'm pretty strong personality, pretty bold too. And you're right. Our passion comes across sometimes as aggressive.
Yes.
Or, you know, overly ambitious, or, I mean, to your point, ruthless. That's a great word, but we're not necessarily trying to take everybody else out along the way. Yeah. What we're just trying to do is truthfully just be authentic. Yeah. Like first and foremost, be ourselves, but also, I think you're right. The journey is to really become aware enough of how that reflects for other people, right? How am I showing up? And I mean, for some people, it's okay. For other people, they're more sensitive, and that's you know, kind of blows them out of the water. And just acknowledging that sometimes you have to moderate a little bit. I do appreciate that because I know that sometimes I have come across like that too. And it's tricky. Yeah, right. We're just, when you have the big personality that it, you know, for some people it's overwhelming. And I think
it's giving permission for people to say, you know, you know what? Hi, nice to meet you. I am that person that will talk your ear off and will give you unsolicited advice or solutions, just because that's how my brain works. Yeah. But it's not necessarily a controlling thing or like an ego thing. It's just my desire to help because it's part of my talent, my natural being, right? So if you don't appreciate that, totally fine. Let me know. Yeah. But I probably will overstep until you tell me. Unless you tell me. Which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with that.
Well, and you know what? I think that's what makes girls like you and I actually really incredible is that we can take the feedback.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is come to us sincerely and authentically and really in a forward way and say, hey, you know what? That didn't go well for me.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we'll do whatever we can to make you feel comfortable, make you feel accepted, apologize, as you've said. But we're just going to assume acceptance, right? In the silence, that you're okay with everything we're doing. And I totally.
And we get excited for people too. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like a problem to solve. Like, what, you know, like, oh, this is fantastic. Like I've been there. Let me give you some like really cool, like experience that I've had.
Yeah. We totally just had this conversation just before we started recording the podcast. Sandra was helping me with a business problem and we totally ended up getting super animated about it, but in a really good way. Yeah. Sandra was challenging me and then I was having to really think about it. But that's the way we operate, and that's not the way.
I gave you a minute to think about it, and then you came around to my side.
Totally, right? This is life with Sandra Easton. Anyways, but that's the thing, right? But that's I do appreciate that, and I think that's great advice, Sandra. That like it is a journey, and when you are not, you don't have somehow this belief that it has to be perfect.
And there's no formula, Lindsay. Like
there's no manual here.
Everybody's journey is different based on experience and their goals and their personality and where they want to go and their understanding. And so like to give people grace and kindness as well to go on their own journey, I think is really important. And that's where that perfection thing comes in. Like there's no perfection. You know, it's just a journey.
Yeah. And I think we get, and I say we, as in many female entrepreneurs, we get really caught up in that perfectionist mindset, right? That high achiever, that it has to be perfect, it has to be awesome, we have to be successful, and we start to define success in some pretty warped ways.
One of the things I had in the very beginning of my career, I had a real estate business coach my first year back in 2006, and he was a realtor, but he was at that time in his 80s, and I loved it.
Okay.
It wasn't like a 20-year-old, you know, but he had done, like, he was before the internet, right? So he was old school.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to go out and knock on doors or knock on businesses and make so many calls a day. That's not me.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a very, very quick realization that I will do something every day, but I might not do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And that expectation of like, hey, you need to make so many phone calls, you need to have follow up with so many people, you need to answer so many emails every day, or that pipe funnel of leads are going to dry up, or that business is going to dry up. I think that's a little bit strict, right? That's a formula. And I think as long as you're doing something, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're pushing yourself forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's such a great example. It has to be, whatever it is, it has to work for you.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, there are experts. You ostensibly hired an expert.
Yes.
Right? But if nothing else that you got from that expert, it was actually to figure out what you didn't want to do.
Yes.
Right?
And I'll decide.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But I think so many of us, we get caught up in this sort of Instagram world of what it should look like.
3 posts a day.
Oh my gosh.
15 tags.
Yeah, like, and you know,
or you're going to fall behind.
All of that junk. Well, and layer that on to all the responsibilities that we have as wives, partners, mothers, for many of us, the responsibilities that we have, you know, in our homes, with our families, with our extended families. A lot of us have aging, you know, potentially aging parents. We're kind of caught in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, we have to be a leader in our business. We have a team or some contractors. We got to show up for them. All of that's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of pressure to be perfect in all of those spaces. Well, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
It's not
we were
possible.
talking about balance before.
Yes, we had this conversation because, as many of you know, I think work-life balance is complete bullshit, because I think, you know, sooner find that space of balance than something happens to knock you right back off. So Sandra and I had this conversation about, is it work-life balance or is it work-life blend? And what makes more sense? And I mean, the truth is, use the language that makes sense for you.
Balance doesn't have to be equal.
Well,
like
but
this
is the thing, though, is I think in a lot of ways, and a lot of experts talk about work-life balance. Like, somehow you have to have one piece of the puzzle for yourself, one piece for your kids, one piece for your partner, one piece for your business, one piece for your girlfriends, and all of those pieces somehow need to be equal and even, but inevitably what ends up happening is that piece that's supposed to be for yourself gets all shot to hell because everybody else needs all of you all the time. When you think about it in terms of blend, I feel like it allows a lot more opportunity.
You do that very well.
For the ebbs and the flows, right? So that if your kids do need you more and you got to put some stuff on the back burner in your business, you don't have to feel guilty.
Well, and isn't that why we become entrepreneurs and business owners, is we want the freedom to be able to juggle?
I think it is. I think for many of us, that's the dream.
Absolutely.
I think the reality of it is we become a slave to our business on top of being a slave to our kids and our partners and our families and all the other responsibilities that we have as mothers, right? So for so many of us, I mean, you know, everybody's situation looks a little different, but, you know, how can we integrate all those pieces of who we are as opposed to trying to balance them and make them in some way equal to, right?
I like the word boundaries. I think that's really important. And I don't think, again, like, boundaries don't have to be balanced. They can be blended based on, you know, whatever theme it is.
Yeah.
But having good boundaries, I think, is extremely important, and being okay with saying no.
Which is something, I mean, you and I are now in our 40s. I think.
What? 36. Again.
Celebrating the
Yeah,
17th
no.
anniversary of her 36th
Mid-40s. Yeah.
I think when you reach that threshold of 40, you're better at saying no.
That's true.
I think but it's such a journey for most of us.
You've been through a few burnouts that you realize you have to say no.
Exactly. And I actually remember taking a course, this is several years ago, how to say no without using the 2 letters.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So, how do you politely decline that one more meeting, or that, another friend of mine, it was drinks on Friday, and she said, you know what? The only thing I can think about right now is my pajamas, not a glass of wine. Yeah. That's okay. Like, nobody's going to hate you because you didn't go out on Friday. Nobody's going to hate you because you didn't go to that board meeting. Nobody's going to hate you because you slept in for an extra like, all of those things have to be measured.
Your true friend group and your true like group of influence and support are okay with you saying no. You're the only one who has an issue with saying no.
It's the
Everyone
truth, right?
else is fine.
That's totally an inside job.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. And I love that point, because I think that's a great place to practice, right? Is by saying to the people that know you the best and care about you the most, which are often your friends, I need to get better at this. And so I'm going to start saying this more. And I want you to actually make me say the word out loud, right? Because sometimes that's the hardest part. And I want you to help me celebrate when I do, because you need to reward yourself for that. So that's such a great lesson. I mean, really, boundaries are key in every aspect of our life, not just working as an entrepreneur. It'll bring you
success. If you have good boundaries, you will find success.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. That's so important. And I know, I mean, you talked a little bit earlier about this, that you don't even look at these as mistakes or issues. You look at all of this as learning, as a journey.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. Because when it's a journey, there's an opportunity to find that ebb and flow, right? It's not about a straight line. It's all about the zigging and the zagging. I mean, that's what a journey is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Well, and your job and your career and your life isn't successes and losses. Your life is your life, right? So like,
it's not a zero-sum game.
Why do we think that way in our business? Like, our business is also a journey. Like, we're figuring it out based on our skill set, our talents, how we're learning, what we're exposed to, what opportunities come our way, being able to identify them, and then, being able to like manage it all together in a profitable way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think that's so true. And maybe that's what angers me when I see these business coaches that are online and they're like, do this thing, do my 12 steps and you will have all of this success.
Yeah.
And the truth is, to me, that's such an incredible level of bullshit, because it may have worked for them, but that doesn't mean it's going to work.
Look at the great people in our world and how different they are.
Yeah.
And we look at them and we're like, wow.
Yeah.
And they don't follow, they follow their intuition. They follow their gut.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I think that's really important to think about it in terms of it just being a big, beautiful journey. Mm-hmm. That also, I think, allows you to celebrate a lot more along the way too. Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's super. Sandra, what would you say? I mean, the biggest proportion of people listening to this episode are entrepreneurs, all are small business owners. What would you tell them is really important here, sort of as we are finally seeing the economy start to move out of this COVID crap?
What's the most important thing?
Yeah.
I think finding a good friend group.
Yeah.
I think find other women who have the same goals and ideals, not necessarily in your industry, but find good, strong women. Find people who are unapologetic in their journey. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And if you have, the girl from high school who complains about everything and you're having wine with them every Friday, that's
not going to work.
That's not going to work. I mean, it sounds bad. It's not social climbing. I think sometimes we have that whole mentality of, dropping friends and loyalty and all that. I think that's a bit bullshit. But I think if you are driven and you want to go somewhere in life, you have to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you. I remember at one point in my life, I did not like cardio at all.
Right.
And part of my internal dialogue was, I need to find some really active friends. I need to find some people who like going for walks, who like going to the mall, who will do the mall walking and shopping or making things fun, because that's a weakness of mine. So who can I hang out with that's going to encourage me? Because I know myself, I am not going to freaking do it on my own. Right?
Right.
So for a season, I hung out with this fabulous group of like really active women, and we had a blast.
Yeah.
Now, is that my lifestyle? No. Would I do it again? Maybe not. But it was
a shot.
It was a point. And now my focus is on career. If it was parenting, it would be, who do I really respect as a parent?
Yeah.
And you take bits and pieces from those people and those amazing women and the inspiring women. If you don't have a good friend group, find good podcasts. Find podcasts like yours, Lindsay.
Yeah.
You know, find books that are really inspiring, and you will take pieces from it.
Yeah.
So I think honestly, like, that is instrumental in your growth. Yeah. As a woman and as an entrepreneur.
I love that you said that. So I recently started a group. It's kind of a hybrid mastermind for female entrepreneurs. I call it the Inner Circle. And it is exactly for that reason, so that you can be surrounded by like-minded, growth-oriented female entrepreneurs who want to grow their business, but also want to grow as really great leaders and people.
And if it's uncomfortable, that's okay.
Yeah.
You just keep showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. But you've got to have, you've got to have that group of people, like you said, for a season. It doesn't have to be forever. You don't have to shift your entire, personal
Join a really cool networking group and find a couple of really good friends for a season.
I think that is so important. And that's exactly why I created that group, because it really is in the ability to share, to grow, to have some of those same objectives, even in they don't have to be perfectly the same, but like aligned in that way. And also a place where you can feel a bit safe, so that if you are a little uncomfortable, you know that it's going to be okay. Like, I think there's got to be some trust and connection.
People who relate to you. People who relate. Because as a woman in business, we have a lot on our plate.
We got a lot going on. Yeah. And a lot of these networking things.
And guys don't talk about that.
No. And there's more. And that's exactly it. There's more networking for women now than there ever has been before. But there's still some safety issues in that, right? Because you do. So at any rate, I think
why I do the pedicures for women.
I know. That's so brilliant. Yeah. We go for pedicures and do networking.
It's only to write it off.
It's the most genius thing ever.
I think self-care should be a tax rate.
I get behind that.
So let's make it.
Who do we need to lobby? We need to start lobbying. There's a whole new cabinet in Ottawa. We need to get on that, Sandra.
Yeah.
At any rate, I love that, because I think that is really important. Having a great community, number one on the list of things that you need to figure out. Yeah. Because it is lonely. Being an entrepreneur is lonely work. I can attest to that. You can
get stuck in your own head as
well.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so my last question, because again, we could go on all night. This could get ugly. What does leadership mean to you? What is that for you?
That's a tough one, because I feel like leadership is very broad of a term. If you're talking about how I view myself as a leader,
yeah, sure.
I think it just means being an example and being transparent. It doesn't mean projecting myself as successful and untouchable and on a pedestal. I think being relatable and transparent, I think, is a really good leader. As I look for women in leadership within my industry and in other industries, again, I think it's approachability, to know that they've found financial and independent success, and I'm able to actually have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So,
I love it.
It doesn't have to be a status thing. It just needs to be a learning thing. Can I learn from them? They're a leader to me.
I love that. I think that that's beautiful. I think you're absolutely right. Being a leader has nothing to do with where your job is on the org chart,
Yeah.
how much money you have in the
Absolutely.
bank, what your status, or if there's a C in your job title.
Yep.
That's all smoke and mirrors. That's
It
all
is.
bullshit.
Yep. I
Yeah.
agree. Yep.
I think, and you tell me if you agree with this. I think everyone is a leader, or should consider themselves like everybody has
Absolutely.
that potential.
They do. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people don't see themselves as a leader. But that doesn't mean that you're like Sandra and I, that you're big and bold and you put yourself out there and you got all these strong ideas.
You can be quietly unapologetic.
Well,
You can.
the whole theme of this episode is be unapologetic. No, but I think you can be quiet, but you can be strong.
Yes.
You can be confident, and you
can be a leader as a mother. Like,
totally, you're totally a
right?
leader.
Yes. Are
Of
you approachable?
A very small,
Can I learn from you?
undisciplined
Are you open
army
to share with me? Like,
Yeah.
that's important. Yeah.
But it is true, right? And when we start to view ourselves in every aspect of our lives as how do I lead? Because leadership to me too is like an inside job.
Yes.
You got to lead from within. And
everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And even though like I negotiate contracts for a living as my main source of income, even on my LinkedIn, it's like, I don't negotiate, I collaborate.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bottom line. It's about the relationship. It's about
the connection.
Yep.
I love that. Sandra, that's a perfect place to end this episode. Thank you so much, not only for chatting with me, but for the glass of wine that we had first, because I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And thanks for being a guest. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lindsay.
To everyone tuning in today, thanks again for listening to the Female Founder Friday podcast. I really love Sandra's whole approach to life, leadership, and business, which is to really collaborate, connect, and be really authentic. And you can find more of Sandra's incredible best-selling books and journals on Amazon.ca. And you can find Sandra on Instagram, and her handle there is at 𝐻𝐻𝐶_commercial. And of course, you can find me on Instagram as well, and my handle is at High Volt Leadership. The Female Founder Friday podcast has a goal to impact 1,000 listeners. And it would mean the world to me if you left this episode a 5-star review and shared it with all of your friends. Let's engage 1,000 female entrepreneurs and really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca.